Hello aspirants, welcome to Environment course by UPSC experts. This is class 14 of the course. Let's go to class notes and start with class 14. See, now let's discuss all the questions with respect to international organizations, international conventions, international reports, etc. Right? See, this is question asked in 2015, right? So, with reference to International Union for Conservation of Nature and Resources, IUCN. See, IUCN we will be studying right separately while discussing the extinct species, right? Critically endangered species. वो सब उधर IUCN पढ़ेंगे, right? Then, with reference to IUCN and CITES, Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wildlife and Fauna, which of the following statement is correct? See, IUCN is an organ of United Nations? No. IUCN is an NGO, right? So it is incorrect. And CITES is an international agreement between correct. So this is correct, but since this is incorrect, so option 1 is incorrect. IUCN runs thousands of field projects around the world to better manage natural environments. As this is correct, while studying IUCN, we will be studying it, right? And CITES is a legally binding on the states that have joined it, but this convention does not take the place of national laws. See, CITES, we have discussed this point. CITES is legally binding on the states that have joined it, but the convention does not take the place of national laws. Rather, nations, they can make laws and implement, right? So this is 2 and 3. Option B is the answer, right? So IUCN is an international organization, right? NGO. It is the world's oldest global, right? Global level में world's oldest environmental organization established in 1948. So again, this is important point you need to remember. दुनिया का global level में oldest environmental organization है, right? Established in 1948. IUCN runs thousands of field works around the world to better manage natural environments, and CITES is an international legally binding agreement between governments to ensure international trade in specimens and wild animals and plants does not threaten the survival of species. CITES is legally binding on the parties but does not take place of national laws, right? So it is easy question. Question 2015 में पूछा है, right? Then see, next is asked in 2023 invasive species specialist group, right? That develops global invasive species database belongs to which of the following organizations, right? So it is important invasive species specialist group, and invasive species be important hai, right? So belongs to which one of the following organizations? So this is IUCN, right? Invasive species specialist group is IUCN release करती है, global invasive species का database रखती है, right? What all are invasive species and all, right? So this fact you need to remember, IUCN invasive species specialist group, right? Then see, the global invasive species database, right? Again, ये भी पूछ सकता है, global invasive species database कौन release करता है, right? So that is IUCN, right? Was developed and is managed by invasive species specialist group. उसके लिए invasive species specialist group बनाया, right? IUCN ने, right? Of the species survival commission. See, ये भी important है, SSC species survival commission क्या है? IUCN. So see, अब एक बार ये आया invasive species specialist group, ये भी आ सकता है, and species survival commission ये भी आ सकता है. So you need to remember all these things, right? Of IUCN, right? Recently, invasive species specialist group of IUCN has described exotic seaweed grown in India, that is Kappa ficus. See, again, this is very important. This you can expect in prelims, right? In prelims, right? Kappa ficus mostly seen in news is what, right? It is a seaweed, because ये important क्यों है? See, नीति आयोग ने seaweed पे एक document release किया, right? And in the document, मतलब seaweed promote करने के लिए, right? As a farmers का income बढ़ेगा उसके लिए they have released a document, and majority of the document is on Kappa ficus, that is promotion of Kappa ficus, right? So Niti Aayog is promoting Kappa ficus by seaweed में Kappa ficus grow करो, right? You can generate income, right? But IUCN का invasive species specialist group है, इसको invasive species डाल दिया, right? So वन इज सेइंग कि ये हानिकारक है एंड अदर इज सेइंग इसको प्रमोट करते हैं, राइट. सी, इन्वेजिव कप्पा फाइकस, we need to remember kappa ficus is a seaweed grown in India but it is an invasive species. ये इंडिया का ओरिजिनल नहीं है, बाहर से लाया गया एंड इट इज एज ए डिस्ट्रक्टिव invasive species and pose serious danger to coral reefs को डेंजर. दिस सीवीड वाज कल्टिवेटेड इन तमिलनाडु और अलग जगह भी है, गुजरात वगैरह में भी है, राइट. सो कप्पा फाइकस वी नीड टू रिमेंबर, राइट. सो इट इज देयर इन न्यूज, राइट. Down to earth, etc. Everything they have covered many articles on this. You need to remember it. Kappa ficus, right? Then next question. Let's go to next question. That is with respect to traffic. See, question asked in 2017. See, traffic I haven't covered when we are discussing international trade in species, right? जहां sites discuss किया क्योंकि ये NGO, right? So whatever things I have not covered in the main content, so क्वेश्चंस में आया हुआ, आई कवर्ड इट कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली थ्रू क्वेश्चंस, राइट. सो अब देखो, कंसीडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू ट्रेड रिलेटेड एनालिसिस ऑफ फोना एंड फ्लोरा इन कॉमर्स. ट्रेड रिलेटेड एनालिसिस ऑफ फोना एंड फ्लोरा इन कॉमर्स, ट्रैफिक, राइट. ट्रेड रिलेटेड एनालिसिस ऑफ flora and fauna in commerce, traffic, right. So traffic is a bureau under UNEP. No, it is a NGO. UNEP का पार्ट नहीं है, इसीलिए हम UNEP का ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जब डिस्कस कर रहे थे तो इसीलिए आई हैवंट डिस्कस्ड इट देयर, नहीं तो कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा, राइट. सो इट इज एन NGO, राइट. सो ऑप्शन 1 इज इनकरेक्ट, राइट. देन द मिशन ऑफ ट्रैफिक इज टू एंश्योर दैट trade in wild plants and animals is not a threat to conservation of nature. Yes, right. So trade related analysis of, so ताकि उनका ट्रेड की वजह से, right, doesn't threaten the animals and also option 2 is correct. Answer is B. Let's study about traffic. See, traffic established in 1976 by Worldwide Fund and IUCN. So दोनों NGO से, so traffic is also an NGO. अब देखो, is established by WWF and IUCN. So ये भी याद करना है, right. So traffic is from WWF and IUCN. So उसको कैसे याद करना है? See here, traffic, WWF, traffic is 7 words. See, WWF IUCN. If we both combine, so this is also 7 words and there is FF here, right, and IUCN, right, IC, right, all are there, right. So like that we need to remember, right. So WWF and IUCN, right. If you have another trick, right, form trick and, right, traffic IUCN, right, WWF and IUCN you need to remember. दो NGO से मिलके बना, दो important NGO से, WWF and IUCN, right, is a wildlife trade monitoring network. wildlife का trade monitor करती है, right. So it works closely with the national and state governments and various agencies to help study, monitor and influence action to curb illegal wildlife trade. ठीक है, से ये wildlife trade monitor करती है network, right, curb illegal wildlife trade. For over 40 years, traffic performed that function as a leader in wildlife trade research as a joint program of WWF and IUCN. So WWF and IUCN दोनों मिलके काम करते हैं, right. So traffic became an independent non-profit organization in 2017 with WWF and IUCN sitting on its board of directors along with independent board members, right. Then traffic specializes in providing information analytics on illegal trade networks and supply chains, targeting the kingpins, illegal markets and new trends in trafficking, right. Then Project Spotlight, traffic has launched Project Spotlight to monitor the illegal trade in freight using sniffer dog detection, right. So wildlife Project Spotlight है, ट्रैफिक का एक इंपॉर्टेंट वो है, राइट. ये बेसिकली इन पोर्ट्स, एयरपोर्ट्स एंड बॉर्डर क्रॉसिंग्स, राइट, इट इज to support enforcement detection of wildlife contraband within shipments of ports, airports and border crossings, right. So that is Project Spotlight. ठीक है, स्निफर डॉग्स को यूज करके वाइल्ड लाइफ ट्रेड वगैरह को मतलब देखती रहती है, राइट. अगर कोई कर रहा है तो उनको पकड़ लेगी, राइट? सो दैट इज प्रोजेक्ट स्टॉपलाइट. देन देर इज वन डिफरेंस बिटवीन साइट्स एंड ट्रैफिक. सी, साइट्स क्या है? इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, राइट? नेशंस आर पार्ट. सो ट्रैफिक इज व्हाट? एनजीओ, नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, राइट? सो one major difference is sites is concerned with international cooperation to control only the illegal trade. To control only the illegal trade. Illegal trade को control करती है in endangered species. Whereas traffic is concerned with monitoring of both legal as well as illegal trade. भाई पूरा वाइल्ड लाइफ ट्रेड पे ट्रैक रखती है, राइट? वेदर इट इज लीगल और इलीगल. जैसे मान ले इलीगल क्या हो गया? जैसे वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट के एनिमल्स पार्ट्स को इफ यू आर मूविंग, दैट इज इलीगल, राइट? एंड लीगल इज व्हाट? मान ले आप छोटा डॉग को भी इफ यू आर मूविंग, दैट इज लीगल. डॉग को यू कैन ट्रांसपोर्ट, राइट? सो ट्रैफिक है वो बोथ लीगल एंड इलीगल दोनों को देखती है, राइट? सो दैट आल्सो यू कैन रिमेंबर, राइट? नाउ लेट्स सी नेक्स्ट. सी, this is question asked in 2015, that is with respect to organization known as BirdLife International. See, again we haven't covered BirdLife International, so I will cover BirdLife International in this question, right? So BirdLife International, which of the following statement is correct, right? So it is global partnership of conservation organizations. We will study the concept of biodiversity hotspots originated from this organization. No, biodiversity hotspot Mayor से and biodiversity hotspot CI, Conservation International, right? We have studied, right? So go through biodiversity hotspots का notes में जहां है उधर जाके पढ़ो. So whenever you remember biodiversity hotspots, you have to remember Conservation International, right? ये भी एक NGO, right? So that is, so this is incorrect. So 2 is incorrect. So 2 options you can easily eliminate. So it identifies the sites known as important bird and biodiversity areas. ये correct है. So 1 and 3, let's study the BirdLife International. See, BirdLife International is a global partnership of conservation. Global partnership of conservation organizations, that is NGOs का global partnership है, right? जैसे इंडिया में, right? इंडिया में बॉम्बे नेचुरल सोसाइटी है, राइट? वो इनका पार्टनर है, राइट? ग्लोबल पार्टनरशिप ऑफ कंजर्वेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, ठीक है? कंजर्वेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जितने भी है उनका पार्टनरशिप है ग्लोबल लेवल पे, राइट? दैट इज बर्ड लाइफ इंटरनेशनल दैट स्ट्राइव्स टू कंजर्व बर्ड्स, देयर हैबिटेट्स एंड global biodiversity, working with people towards sustainability in the use of natural resources. Working with people towards sustainability in the use of natural resources. Then BirdLife International was founded in 1922. So 1922 में ही found हुआ, right? As International Council for Bird Protection, right? Bird Protection. The group was renamed International Committee for Bird Preservation in 1928 and International Council for Bird Preservation in 1960 and BirdLife International in 1993. Right? So 1993 में BirdLife International जैसे आ गया, right? Then it publishes a quarterly magazine called World Bird Watch, right? Quarterly magazine, that means हर 4 महीने में एक बार World Bird Watch magazine आएगा, which contains recent news and authoritative articles about birds, their habitats and their conservation around the world, right? Then BirdLife International is the official scientific source of information on birds for IUCN Red List. जैसे birds को IUCN Red List में add करते हैं, so that will be done by BirdLife International is official scientific source of information. Official scientific source of information on birds for IUCN Red List, right? So it also publishes State of the World's Birds Report. State of the World's Birds Report. State of the World's Birds Report, right? For India, Bombay Natural History Society, Mumbai is the BirdLife International partner. See, for India, Bombay Natural History Society, Mumbai is BirdLife International partner. ये क्या है? Global International Organizations का global level partnership है, right? इंडिया में Bombay Natural History Society, Mumbai is a BirdLife International partner, right? So state of words, bird report, etc. So all these things we can remember. Then next is, see, important bird and biodiversity area IBA program, important bird and biodiversity program of BirdLife International, right? ये they can ask, right? Important bird and ये किसका है? BirdLife International aims to identify, monitor and protect a global network of IBAs for conservation of world's birds and associated biodiversity. It serves as conservation areas for protection of birds at a global, regional or sub-regional level, right? In India, Bombay Natural History Society and BirdLife International, right? India में Bombay Natural History Society and BirdLife International has identified more than 550 IBS in India, right? 550 IBS in India. The concept of, right, next is the concept of biodiversity hotspot was developed by British ecologist Norman Mayers, right? And उसको कौन वो करता है अभी मैनेज, दैट इज कंजर्वेशन इंटरनेशनल, राइट? ये भी याद करना है, बायोडाइवर्सिटी हॉटस्पॉट्स आर CI, राइट? सो दैट इज द थिंग. नाउ लेट्स सी नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन दैट इज asked in 2017, that is with reference to role of UN Habitat in the United Nations programs working towards better urban future, right? UN Habitat, right, in the United Nations program working towards a better urban future. Which of the following statements is correct, right? So now let's study about UN urban habitat, then we'll get back to the question, right? UN Habitat or United Nations Human Settlements Program, United Nations Human Settlements Program, right? UN Habitat or United Nations Human Settlements Program, right? UN Habitat is a United Nations agency for human settlements, right? It is mandated by United Nations General Assembly, to promote socially and environmentally sustainable towns and cities, both towns and cities, with the goal of providing adequate shelter for all, right? Adequate shelter for all, right? Hence statement 1 is correct, right? Habitat, UN Habitat. Then UN Habitat partners with range of organizations in its endeavor, right? So UN Habitat collaborates with governments, local authorities, NGOs, trade unions, professionals, academics and researchers, human solidarity groups, indigenous people, private sector, foundations, financial institutions, etc., right? इन सबसे collaborate करती है. So statement 2 दिया होगा, right? In the absence of effective urban planning, the consequences of this rapid urbanization can lead to lack of proper housing, growth of slums, inadequate and outdated infrastructure, be it roads, public transport, water, sanitation, electricity, escalating poverty and unemployment, safety and crime problems, pollution and health issues. UN Habitat contributes to the overall objective of sustainable urbanization, right? So UN Habitat was established in 1978. Every 20 years, UN Habitat conference happens, right? Last one, Habitat 3, happened in 2016, in which member states signed new urban agenda. So it happened in 2016. That's why there was question in 2017, right? 2017. This is current affairs based question, right? So UN Habitat has been mandated by United Nations General Assembly to promote socially and environmentally sustainable towns and cities to provide adequate shelter for all. So this is correct. Then its partners are either governments or local urban authorities only. No, it partners with everything, right? Individuals से भी, private organizations से भी. So this is incorrect, right? So 2 is eliminated. 1 and 3. UN Habitat contributed to overall objective of United Nations system to reduce poverty and promote access to safe drinking water and basic sanitation. जब cities develop करेंगे तो वो होगा, right? Option B is the correct answer, right? So UN Habitat is an important topic we have covered, right? Basic क्या है? It works under United Nations General Assembly, right? United Nations General Assembly, right? So ये ध्यान रखना है, यूएन हैबिटेट हर 20 साल में एक बार होता है, राइट? बोथ टाउन्स एंड सिटीज शेल्टर फॉर ऑल एंड वर्क्स विद ऑल द प्रोफेशनल्स, ये भी याद करना है, राइट? देन इन द एब्सेंस अर्बन प्लानिंग एक्सेट्रा, राइट? देन लेट्स सी नेक्स्ट. सी अगेन यूएन हैबिटेट रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन है आस्क्ड इन 2021. सो दैट मींस the UN Habitat and its associated city related rights, right? So city related projects वो important है, right? So जैसे ग्रीन सिटी का कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स वगैरह है, राइट? कुछ ग्लोबल लेवल में एनीथिंग इज हैपनिंग, यू नीड टू कीप ट्रैक ऑफ दैम, राइट? सो कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स. राइट टू सिटी इज एन agreed human right and the UN Habitat monitors the commitments made by each country in this regard. In this regard, with respect to right to city, let's discuss. Then right to city gives every occupant of the city right to reclaim public spaces and public participation in the city, right? So this is on concept of right to city, right? Right to city means that the state cannot deny any public services or facility to the unauthorized colony in the city, right? So now let's see. अब देखो, answer is 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are correct. Which of the following are correct? So let's study about right to city. See, while the right to city is recognized as an aspirational concept, by aspirational concept की तरह recognize किया, however, it is not at a formally agreed upon human right under international law. Right? It is not at a formally agreed upon human right under international law. Right? So ये कोई इंटरनेशनल लॉ में एज ए ह्यूमन राइट अग्री नहीं किया. सो दैट मीन्स सो यूएन हैबिटेट भी नहीं किया. दो यूएन हैबिटेट promotes this concept in its programs and policies, it does not enforce binding commitments from member countries, right? So hence option 1 is incorrect. So option 1 क्या बोल रही? See, right to city is an agreed human right and the UN habitat monitors the commitments made by each country in this regard. See, कोई कंट्री कुछ कमिटमेंट किया नहीं है भाई. यूएन हैबिटेट बात करती रहती है, इसको प्रमोट करती है. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि मॉनिटर्स द कमिटमेंट्स पहले हुआ नहीं है, राइट? विथ ईच कंट्री एंड यूएन हैबिटेट डजंट मॉनिटर. सो दिस ऑप्शन इज इनकरेक्ट, राइट? सो ये अग्रीड, बस बातें एक कॉन्सेप्ट की तरह, एक्सप्रेशनल कॉन्सेप्ट की तरह है अभी, राइट? राइट. सो देन सी, राइट टू सिटी कॉन्सेप्ट डेवलप्ड बाय हेनरी लिफेब्रे, राइट? हेनरी लिफेब्रे, right? It is developed by Henry Lefebvre, right? Provides following rights. So क्या क्या rights provide करती है? That is right to claim for social function in the city, right? Then right to quality public spaces. Quality public spaces, कोई भी public spaces है, public areas quality होना चाहिए. Then sustainable and inclusive rural urban linkages. So rural urban linkages अच्छे से होना चाहिए. Then inclusive citizenship. Citizenship inclusive, caste based, religion based, class based नहीं होना चाहिए, right? Then enhanced political participation in the city, right? Then non discrimination, right? Gender equality होना चाहिए. Then cultural diversity, all these are part of. Hence right to city gives every occupant of city the right to reclaim public spaces and public participation in the city, right? So ये दोनों, right to reclaim public spaces and public participation in the city, ये दोनों है, right? Then the right to city emphasizes equal access to urban services and resources irrespective of residents' legal status, right? Emphasizes equal access to urban services and resources irrespective of residents' legal status. Even in unauthorized colonies, residents are entitled to basic services such as water, electricity, sanitation and healthcare to uphold their right to a dignified life, right? So unauthorized colony से उसमें भी rights होना चाहिए. Residents are entitled to basic services such as water, electricity, etc., right, to have dignified life. So statement 3 is correct. So right to city means that state cannot deny any public service or facility to the unauthorized colonies in the city. Yes, state cannot deny, right? Unauthorized colonies हो फिर भी state को rights देना चाहिए, right? Then the right to city gives every occupant of the city right to reclaim public spaces and public participation in the city, right? ये rights इधर covered है दोनों, right? So that is right to city concept and UN habitat, right? So इन चीजों पे ध्यान रखना है. See, cities पे कुछ institutions वगैरह चल रहा है, right? They become important, right? Then next, let's discuss about International Whaling Commission, right? So in our scheme of things नहीं हुआ तो इधर मैंने अलग से कवर किया. International Whaling Commission, right? So International Whaling Commission was set up as an intergovernmental organization, right, under the International Convention of Regulation of Whaling 1946, right? 1946 में इंटरनेशनल कन्वेंशन फॉर रेगुलेशन ऑफ व्हेलिंग हुआ, उसमें इंटरनेशनल व्हेलिंग कमीशन बना है, राइट? सो मेंबरशिप इज 88 कंट्रीज इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया, राइट। अब 88 कंट्रीज ही क्यों है, राइट, बिकॉज मेनी कंट्रीज विच इन्वॉल्व इन वेलिंग, राइट, कमर्शियल वेलिंग में वेल्स को मारते काते हैं, राइट, सो वो कंट्रीज पार्टिसिपेट नहीं किया, जैसे जापान है, राइट। सो जापान में वेलिंग हैपेंस, जैसे वेलिंग्स को पकड़ते हैं, राइट, उनको मारते, राइट, खाते एंड ऑल, ट्रांसपोर्ट वगैरह करते, सो दैट्स व्हाई जापान नॉट पार्टिसिपेटिंग, राइट। सो 88 countries, then functions of IWC, right? So functions of IWC, that is International Whaling Commission. International Whaling Commission, that is designation of whale sanctuaries. जैसे वाइल्ड लाइफ सैंक्चुरीज इंडिया में हम लोग वो कर रहे हैं, राइट, जैसे whale sanctuaries डेजिग्नेट करती है IWC. So IWC identifies and designates specific locations as whale sanctuaries. These areas are afforded special protection to ensure the conservation and well-being of whale populations, right? Conservation and well-being of whale populations, right? And designates whale specific locations of whale sanctuaries, right? Then imposition of catch restrictions. Imposition of catch restrictions, right? So that IWC imposes restriction on quality and size of whales that may be caught, right? Size restrictions by इस साइज का वेल है ये नहीं पकड़ना चाहिए, राइट, इस क्वांटिटी का वेल है इतना ही अलाउड है, राइट। सो imposition of catch restrictions, these regulations are implemented to manage and conserve whale populations and prevent over exploitation, right? जैसे कुछ एरियाज में भाई इतना ही वेल पकड़ना है, राइट, एंड इस साइज से बड़ा वेल पकड़ना नहीं है, या इस साइज से छोटा वेल पकड़ना नहीं है, बेबी वेल्स को पकड़ना नहीं है, राइट। सो दस रिस्ट्रिक्शंस, कैच रिस्ट्रिक्शंस। देन प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ female whales and calves. Protection of female whales and calves, right? Female whales को calves को protect करना है. IWC International Whale Commission prohibits the capture of female whales that are either carrying calves or nursing calves, right? So prohibit female whales and calves, जो भी मदर से नर्सिंग कर रहे calves को, right, उनको पकड़ना नहीं है. This protective measure is aimed at ensuring the reproductive success and survival of whale populations, right? So these are the main functions, and currently a complete ban is applied on commercial whaling. Commercial purposes के लिए whaling है, उस पे complete ban है, right? Complete ban is applied on commercial whaling, while whaling under scientific research and aboriginal subsistence, that is indigenous communities are allowed. जैसे मान ले अंडमान एंड निकोबार ट्राइबल से, राइट, दे वो लोग वेल पकड़ते हैं, एग्जाम्पल, राइट, वेल पकड़ते खाते हैं, राइट, तो उनको एग्जम्पशन मिला, बट कमर्शियल वेलिंग पे कंप्लीट बैन है, राइट। सो इन प्रीलिम्स दे कैन गिव स्टेटमेंट्स लाइक देयर इज कंप्लीट बैन ऑन ऑल टाइप्स ऑफ वेलिंग, दैट इज इनकरेक्ट, राइट। कमर्शियल वेलिंग पे बैन है, राइट, साइंटिफिक रिसर्च के लिए वेल्स पकड़ सकते हैं, एंड एबोरिजिनल सब्सिस्टेंस जैसे लोकल कम्युनिटीज खाने के लिए, जैसे आइलैंड कंट्रीज है, राइट, जो पैसिफिक आइलैंड कंट्रीज है उधर वेल्स पकड़ के खाते हैं, तो उन पे कोई रेस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है, राइट। देन मैंडेट ऑफ इंटरनेशनल व्हेलिंग कमीशन. इंटरनेशनल व्हेलिंग कमीशन इज रेस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर मैनेजमेंट ऑफ व्हेलिंग, right, responsible for management of whaling, that is hunting and killing of whales. Management of whaling, that is hunting and killing of whales, right, and conservation of whales, right, is responsible for management of whaling, right, hunting and killing of whales and conservation of whales. The mandate scope is now more wide with inclusion of bycatch, right, so inclusion of bycatch and entanglement, ship strikes, ocean noise, pollution and debris and sustainable whale watching. So ये भी important है. So अभी mandate काफी expand किया which covers all these things, that is inclusion of bycatch and entanglement, ship strikes, ocean noise, pollution and debris and sustainable whale watching, right? Now we are done with International Whaling Commission. Now let's understand an important concept, that is the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity. See, that is, see, economics of ecosystems and biodiversity. The economics of ecosystem and biodiversity. The economics of ecosystem and biodiversity ka economics. TEEB, right? TEEB, right? It is important. So TEEB is the economics of ecosystem and biodiversity is a global initiative focused on making nature's values visible. focused on making nature's values visible. Focused on making nature's values visible. Right? Global initiative focus on making nature's values visible. Right? Its principal objective is to mainstream the values of biodiversity and ecosystem services into decision making at all levels. Right? Principal objective is to mainstream values of, राइट जैसे इकोनॉमिक वैल्यूज राइट बेसिकली ये इकोनॉमिक वैल्यूज का बात कर रहा है भाई जो इकोसिस्टम सर्विसेज कितना देती है राइट एंड बायोडाइवर्सिटी कितना राइट जैसे फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री में बायोडाइवर्सिटी आर यूज्ड राइट प्लांट्स वगैरह मेडिसिन बनाने के लिए राइट दैट इज द इकोनॉमिक वैल्यूज ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी एंड इकोसिस्टम्स राइट so it aims to achieve the goal by following a structured approach to valuation that helps decision makers recognize the wide range of benefits provided by ecosystems and biodiversity, demonstrate their values in economic terms, and where appropriate suggest how to capture those values in decision making. Right? The TEEB study was launched by Germany, right? Launched by Germany and European Commission. Right? The TEEB study was launched by Germany and European Commission in response to proposal by G8 5 plus environment ministers held in Germany in 2007. Right? So launched by Germany and European Commission. A important fact, TEEB study. Right? So this major initiative is funded by European Commission, Germany, United Kingdom, Norway, Netherlands, and Sweden. Right? And managed by UNEP as part of Green Economy Initiative, right? So funded by these countries and managed by UNEP under Green Economy Initiative, right? So TEEB finds its institutional home at UNEP. Its institutional home at UNEP, right? And sets up an office to manage day-to-day operations and communications, right? Once its institutional home at UNEP, right? So the government of India launched the economics of ecosystem and biodiversity. Government of India also launched the economics of ecosystem and biodiversity TEEB India initiative in 2015 to highlight the economic consequences of loss of biological diversity and associated decline in ecosystem services, right? The initiative focuses on three ecosystems, that is forests, inland wetlands, and coastal and marine ecosystems, right? So TEEB India initiative bhi hai, right? So that is with respect to TEEB, right? So all the facts you need to remember, right? कौन मैनेज करता है इसको, right? So फंड कौन करता है, right? फॉर्म कब हुआ, right? फाउंडेशन कब हुआ, right? इंस्टीट्यूशनल होम कहाँ है, right? एंड इंडिया में क्या है, right? All these things you need to know about TEEB, right? So TEEB, right? यूरोपियन का वो है, right? ये याद करना है. This question asked in 2016 with reference to initiative called the Economics of Ecosystems and Biodiversity TEEB, it is an initiative hosted by UNEP, IMF, and World Economic Forum. See, IMF, World Economic Forum नहीं है, right? So it is incorrect option. ये UNEP host कौन करता है, right? Funded and managed, right? Managed by ये and home to UNEP. So UNEP involved है कहीं भी जो दूसरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस लाइक आईएमएफ एंड वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम नहीं है. बेसिकली दीज आर इकोनॉमिक, राइट? इकोनॉमिक रिलेटेड. आईएमएफ मॉनेटरी फंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, राइट? ये फॉरेन उसका, एंड वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट्स, राइट? सो इट इज इनकरेक्ट. Then it is a global initiative that focuses on drawing attention to economic benefits of biodiversity. Yes, economic benefits of biodiversity पे ध्यान रखती है. The economics of biodiversity उधर से भी आएगा. It presents an approach that can help decision makers recognize, demonstrate, and capture the value of ecosystem and biodiversity. Yes, so 2 and 3 option C is the correct answer, right? So again question is easy, उसका information ऊपर दिया हुआ है, right? Now let's see next question, that is Rio plus 20 conference. Rio plus 20 conference. What is Rio plus 20 conference called, often mentioned in the news? See, Rio plus 20 what? See, Earth Summit, right? Earth Summit, right? Happened in 1992. Earth Summit kaha hua? Rio de Janeiro. That's why Earth Summit is also called as Rio Earth Summit, right? रियो अर्थ समिट है, राइट? कब हुआ? 1992. सो रियो प्लस 20 जो है, राइट, दैट इज व्हाट? 20 years of Earth Summit. So 2012 में रियो प्लस 20 कॉन्फ्रेंस हुआ एंड अर्थ समिट में मेन थीम इज व्हाट? मेन थीम इज सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट. Sustainable development. It is United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development. See, other options, it is ministerial meeting of World Trade Organization. No. WTO, Rio Conference, environment related. It is a conference on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Conference of ये लिखा हुआ IPCC. भाई ये IPCC का कॉन्फ्रेंस नहीं है, राइट? सो IPCC का कॉन्फ्रेंस नहीं है ये, राइट? दिस इज यूनाइटेड नेशंस, राइट? UNFCC वगैरह FCCC इस कॉन्फ्रेंस में आवा. सो इट इज यूनाइटेड नेशन कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑन सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट पे रियो, राइट? इट इज कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑफ मेंबर कंट्रीज ऑफ द कन्वेंशन ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी. नो, right? It is conference on sustainable development. So option A is the answer. That is C. United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, right? Also called as Earth Summit, was held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 1992. Right? On the occasion of 20th anniversary of Earth Summit, the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, right, or Rio plus 20, United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development or Rio plus 20 took place in Brazil in 2012, right? It resulted in focused political document which contains clear and practical measures for implementing sustainable development. So it is with respect to sustainable development, right? Easy question hai. Now let's see next question. See, this is question asked in 2016. So see, अब देखो इस question में this is on sustainable development goals etc. ठीक है? अब sustainable development हमने कहीं कवर नहीं किया एक जगह, right? So इस क्वेश्चन में आई हैव कवर्ड एवरीथिंग, दैट इज ब्रीफ हिस्ट्री ऑफ सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स, राइट? सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट में गोल्स के रिलेटेड एवरीथिंग इंपॉर्टेंट इज कवर्ड इन जस्ट 2 pages, राइट? सो लेट्स डिस्कस, राइट? क्वेश्चन भी पढ़ते पहले. सी, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स SDGs, SDGs were first proposed in 1972 by a global think tank called Club of Rome. Right? Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, right? SDGs have to be achieved by 2030, right? So अब देखते हैं. See, देखो, Club of Rome is a global think tank which in its 1972 book Limits to Growth talked about sustainability, right? See, the Club of Rome is a global think tank है, right? Which in its 1972 book release किया, that is Limits to Growth, right? And it talked about sustainable development, sustainability, right? Sustainable development, etc. However, they did not propose sustainable development goals, right? As per the resolution of United Nations General Assembly in 2015, the sustainable development goals have been adopted by 193 member nations, right? Hence statement 1 is incorrect, right? Statement 1 is incorrect. See, देखो, sustainable development goals, right? So sustainable development goals were first. So sustainable development goals है नहीं. See, when this question happened, many students they have done it mistake because उनको पता है भाई Club of Rome global think tank है, it talked about sustainability, but it didn't talk about sustainable development goals, right? So that's why this option is incorrect, right? Then SDGs have to be achieved by 2030, ये हम पढ़ेंगे. So option B is the answer, right? So sustainable development goals, these sustainable development goals are targeted to be achieved by 2030, right? Hence statement 2 is correct. So now let's study about sustainable development goals. सब चीजें पढ़ेंगे sustainable development, right? So first time sustainable development, right? ऑफिशियली सी ब्रंटलैंड कमीशन बना 1983 में, राइट? सी 1972 में स्टॉकहोम कॉन्फ्रेंस हुआ, राइट? स्टॉकहोम कॉन्फ्रेंस हैपेंड, राइट? उसके बाद एनवायरनमेंट को लेके काफी बातें, राइट, हो रही थी, राइट? सो यूएन ने एक कमीशन बनाया, ब्रंटलैंड कमीशन, राइट? ब्रंटलैंड कमीशन, राइट? आई थिंक ये ब्रंटलैंड इज सम प्राइम मिनिस्टर और फॉरेन मिनिस्टर ऑफ नॉर्वे और स्वीडन, राइट? So you can know that, right? She is female, right? Brundtland, you can just Google search it, right? So Brundtland Commission 1983 में बना, right? In 1983, the United Nations created World Commission on Environment and Development, World Commission on Environment and Development, later known as Brundtland Commission, So इस कमीशन ने defined sustainable development as sustainable development को ये define किया. For the first time sustainable development को define किया, that is meeting the needs of present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Right? So is sustainable development is meeting the needs of present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Right? So Brundtland Commission. राइट सो पहली बार सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट को वो किया. राइट देन यूनाइटेड नेशन कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑन एनवायरनमेंट एंड डेवलपमेंट और अर्थ समिट 1992. राइट यूनाइटेड नेशन कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑन एनवायरनमेंट एंड डेवलपमेंट और अर्थ समिट 1992. सो 1992 it raised public awareness of the need to integrate environment and sustainable development. So resulted in 3 documents we have already studied, that is Rio Declaration, principles intended to guide countries in future sustainable development, right? And Agenda 21, non-binding action plan of United Nations regarding sustainable development, right? And Forest Principles, non-legally binding document on conservation and sustainable development of all types of forests, right? So it raised public awareness of the need to integrate environment and sustainable development, right? Then आता है पोस्ट यूएनसीईडी और अर्थ समिट. राइट पोस्ट उसके बाद अर्थ समिट के बाद एज ए फॉलो अप टू यूएनसीईडी और अर्थ समिट द वर्ल्ड समिट ऑन सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट वाज हेल्ड इन 2002. राइट वर्ल्ड समिट ऑन सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट हैपेंड एट Rio + 10, राइट इन Johannesburg, South Africa. In 2012, right, United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, that is Rio + 20 or Rio Earth Summit 2012 was held, right, with respect to sustainable development, right? So World Summit on Sustainable Development, etc. Right? Now let's see Rio + 10 में क्या हुआ, right? That is Earth Summit 2002, right? Rio + 10, right? So 2002 Rio + 10 affirmed the UN commitment to Agenda 21, that is 21st century का agenda, that is sustainable development alongside the Millennium Development Goals. So इधर आया, right? Rio + 20 में MDGs, right? MDGs develop किए, right? MDGs are 8 development goals for 2015. 8 development goals for 2015, right? So MDGs are aimed to, right? Millennium Development Goals are aimed to, right? So Rio + 10 में ये याद करना है, right? Millennium Development Goals for 2015 तक ये achieve करना है, right? So that is to eradicate poverty and hunger, to achieve universal primary education, to promote gender equality and empower women, to reduce child mortality, to improve maternal health, combat HIV, AIDS, malaria and other diseases, and ensure environmental sustainability, and develop a global partnership for development. Right? This happened Rio + 10. Then Rio + 20. 2012 or Earth Summit 2012. Right? So Rio + 20 is a 20-year follow-up to Earth Summit 1992. Right? And a 10-year follow-up to Earth Summit 2002. The Sustainable Development Goals were born at Rio + 20. So Sustainable Development Goals है वो Rio + 20. So Rio + 20 और Rio + 10 याद आते ही हमें Sustainable Development आना चाहिए. In fact, Earth Summit में भी central theme was Sustainable Development, because देखो कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट है, Earth Summit में 3 डॉक्यूमेंट हुआ, every document is talking about Sustainable Development, right? So that is the thing. Now let's see सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट. सो दैट इज सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट. अब 2050 तक मिलेनियम डेवलपमेंट गोल्स थे, 2015 to 2030 that is sustainable development goals. So since 2015 sustainable development goals are included in agenda 2030. 2020 तक 30 तक यही एजेंडा है, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स इंप्लीमेंट करना है. देयर आर 17 SDGs to be achieved by 2030, right? So they are no poverty, first SDG, and second is zero hunger, third is good health and well-being, fourth is quality education, fifth is gender equality, sixth is clean water and sanitation, seventh is affordable and clean energy, right? Eighth is decent work and economic growth, right? Ninth is industry, innovation and infrastructure, 10th is reduced inequalities, 11th is sustainable cities and communities. 12th is responsible consumption and production. 13th is climate action. 14th is life below water. 15th is life on land. 16th is peace and justice. 17th is partnerships for goals. Right. So these are the 17 sustainable development goals. Then next is partnership for action on green economy page. Right. So ये इसी में बनाया right page partnership for page है partnership for action on green economy. So it is emerged at the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development 2012. So 2012 में बना page. Right. 2012 right or Rio Earth Summit plus 20. So it seeks to assist countries in achieving sustainable development. So sustainable development goals achieve करने के लिए assist करती है page. Right. Especially the sustainable development goal 8, that is to promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment. To promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment. So page 1, right? So that is UPSC 2018 में क्वेश्चन आया पेज पे, that is the partnership for action on green economy. The partnership for action on green economy page ये UN mechanism to assist countries transition towards greener and more inclusive economies emerged at, right? Page emerged at कहा the Earth United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development 2012, right? Page emerge हुआ UN Conference on Sustainable Development 2012, right? So that is the answer. Now let's discuss about page. Page is a direct response to the Rio plus 20 declaration. That is, ये भी important. Rio plus 20 declaration is the future we want, which called upon the United Nations system and the international community to provide assistance to interested countries in developing, adopting and implementing green economy policies and strategies. Green economy policies and strategies, right? Bringing together the expertise of 5 UN agencies, right? So page क्या है? Right? Page ये है, right? It brings together expertise of 5 UN agencies, that is UNEP, ILO, International Labour Organization, and UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and UNDP and UNITAR, United Nations Institute for Training and Research. UNITAR, United Nations Institute for Training and Research, and working closely with national governments. Page offers a comprehensive and coordinated package of technical assistance and capacity building services. Page offers a comprehensive and coordinated package of technical assistance and capacity building services. Right. So this is about page. Right. Page. The partnership for action on green economy. The partnership for action on green economy. That is page. Right. So next is with reference to 2016 question asked in 2016, that is with reference to the agreement at UNFCCC meeting in Paris in 2015, which of the following statement is or correct? Right, Paris agreement पे which are correct? The agreement was signed by all the member countries of UN and it will go into effect in 2017. The agreement was signed by all the member countries of UN and it will go into effect. Was signed by all the member countries of UN. No, पहले तो all the member countries of UN? No. Right? Paris Agreement? Right? Then the agreement aims to limit the greenhouse gas emissions so that the rise in global temperature by the end of does not exceed. Yeah, this is correct. Then developed countries acknowledge their historical responsibility in global warming and committed to donate $1,000 billion a year from sea. That is $100 billion. So we'll be studying. So this is incorrect. So option only 2 is correct. So let's discuss about Paris. हमने already discuss किया. See, that is 21st Conference of Parties, right? UNFCCC का 21st Conference of Parties, COP21 is known as Paris Agreement, successfully held in Paris 2015 under United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Right? The agreement was signed by participating 196 countries. The Paris Agreement was opened for signature on 22nd April. Right? 22nd April 2016 in New York and entered into force on 4th November 2016 after it is ratified by 55 countries that account for at least 55% of global emissions. So जब भी कंट्री से 55% ग्लोबल एमिशंस वो करेंगे तब वो होगा. सो इन 2016 में ही होगा. सो hence statement 1 is incorrect, right? So agreement signed by all members of UN countries, no. Yeah, and it will be go into effect, no. जैसे 2016 में ही it had gone into effect, right? Then the agreement aims to strengthen global response to the threat of climate change by keeping a global temperature rise this century below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and to pursue efforts to limit temperature increase even further to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Right? Hence, statement 2 is correct. So, developed countries committed to donate $100 billion a year from 2020 to help developing countries to cope with climate change. Right? So, $100 billion to cope with. So, developed countries committed to donate $100 billion a year from 2020 to help developing countries to cope with climate change. Instead of 100, they have given $1,000 billion. Right? So, that is incorrect. Right? So, this is incorrect. $1,000 billion a year, $100 billion a year. अभी $100 billion देने में ही developed countries are putting so many excuses, right? Right. So then the next question, that is, the term intended nationally determined contributions is sometimes seen in news in the context of, see, I think we have discussed nationally determined, see, intended nationally determined by nations themselves, right? Determined contributions, right? So it is pledges made by European Union, no. Plan action outlined by countries to combat climate change, as capital contributed to the member countries in the establishment of Asian infrastructure, no. Plan action outlined by the countries to the world regarding sustainable development goals, no. This is climate change को भाई जो भी ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस कितना रिड्यूस करेंगे तुम नेशनली बताओ हमें, राइट? उतना तुम करो, राइट? सी, intended nationally determined contributions, right, is a term used under UNFCCC framework. It is based on bottom-up approach to deal with climate change, where countries are asked to publish their own national targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to the impacts of climate change. Right? INDC's concept, intended nationally determined contributions concept, was adopted in Paris Agreement 2015, where all countries that signed Paris Agreement under UNFCCC were asked to publish their commitments to climate change lead up to post 2015. Post 2015, right? So easy question. Now let's see next question, that is with reference to Agenda 21, right? Agenda 21, seen in news, consider the following. It is a global action plan for sustainable development, as it originated at the World Summit of Sustainable Development held in Johannesburg 2002. No, it originated where? It originated in 1992 Earth Summit. 1992 Earth Summit. Right? So that is option A. Right? So Agenda 21 is a non-binding, voluntarily implemented action plan of United Nations with regard to sustainable development. With regard to sustainable development, it is product of Earth Summit 1992 or UN Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil 1992. Right? So it is non-binding, voluntarily implemented action plan. So it is with respect to sustainable development. Now let's see this question. See, this is question asked in UPSC 2016. Which of the following statements are correct? Proper design and effective implementation of UN Red Plus program can significantly contribute to, right? Which of these? Select the correct code using the below. So now let's understand about UN Red and UN Red Plus program, right? So see, UN Red program, see, it is started in 2008, right? So see, since the program was launched in 2008, right? So 2008 में launch किया. ये क्या है UN? See, let's study 3 UN agencies, that is UNEP, UNDP and FAO have collaborated, right? Tino collaborated in the establishment of UN Red, that is reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. Reducing emissions. See, forests, right? See, forests, they store कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, राइट. फॉरेस्ट फॉरेस्ट का सॉइल है, उसमें कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड स्टोर होती है, एंड फॉरेस्ट का ट्री से दे एब्जॉर्ब कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एंड दे रिलीज ऑक्सीजन, राइट. सो अब डिफॉरेस्ट किया तो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड एमिशन ज्यादा होंगे, राइट. सो बाई फॉरेस्ट डिफॉरेस्टेशन एंड फॉरेस्ट डिग्रेडेशन को रोक के reducing emissions, right, that is called UN READ. That is the goal, right. It is a multi-donor trust fund. It is basically a fund, right, fund managed by 3 UN agencies, right, multi-donor fund that allows donors to pool resources and provide funding with the aim of significantly reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation in developing countries. जो भी donors है, जैसे mostly developed countries है, right. So they UN RED, they takes funds and invest in developing countries for reducing global emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, right. Since the program was launched in 2008, ठीक है, program was launched in 2008, the UN RED program has been supporting 65 partner countries across Africa, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and Caribbean in terms of funding, expertise, and geographical scope. RED attempts to create financial value for carbon stored in forests, offering incentives for developing countries to reduce emissions from forested lands and invest in low carbon paths for sustainable development, right. So अब रेड क्या है? रेड इज फॉरेस्ट को रोकती है, डिफॉरेस्टेशन को रोकती है, राइट, फॉरेस्ट डिग्रेडेशन को रोकती है. बट रेड प्लस क्या? रेड प्लस goes beyond deforestation and forest degradation and includes role of conservation of forest, sustainable management of forest, and enhancement of forest carbon stocks, right. So red plus is more on proactive forest conservation, right. So proper design and effective implementation of red plus program can significantly contribute to protection of biodiversity, resilience of forest ecosystems, which in turn lead to poverty reduction, especially among the people dependent upon forest resources. It is predicted that financial flows for greenhouse gas emission reductions from red plus could reach up to $30 billion a year. This significant north-south flow of funds could lead to protection of biodiversity, poverty reduction, and resilience of forest ecosystems, right. So that is about red and red plus. So now let's go to the question. So with proper design and effective implementation of UN RED Plus program can significantly contribute to protection of biodiversity, resilience of forest ecosystems, and poverty reduction. So 1, 2, 3 is a correct answer. Now let's see next question. Okay, see, question asked in 2016, right. Some terms sometimes seen in news and their origin. शुरू कहाँ से हुआ, right. So Annex 1 countries, certified emission reductions, and clean development mechanism. See, Annex 1 and non-Annex 1 countries, Kyoto Protocol में first time origin 1997, right. So incorrect. And certified emission reduction scheme is there in the Kyoto Protocol. So incorrect. Clean development mechanism is in Kyoto Protocol. So only 3 is the correct. So all the 3 are with respect to Kyoto Protocol, right. So all the 3 terms are associated with Kyoto Protocol, right. Hence only option 3 is correctly matched, right. So right, Kyoto Protocol, you can go to Kyoto Protocol class notes and you can read there. See, then UPSC 2015 का क्वेश्चन है, which of the following statements regarding green climate fund is or correct. Green climate fund के regarding क्या correct है? Green climate fund is UNFCCC का we have discussed, right. It is intended to assist the developing countries in adaptation and mitigation practices to counter climate change, right. It is funded under the aegis of UNEP, OECD, Asian Development Bank, and World Bank, right. It is incorrect. Let's study, right. Option A. See, GCF is a financial instrument under UNFCCC, discussed in Cancun Summit 2010 and finally adopted in Durban Summit 2011. Right. The fund is governed by GCF Board, Green Climate Fund Board. GCF currently structured into two themes. One is mitigation and second is adaptation. Right. So mandate to foster paradigm shift towards low emission and climate resilient development pathways by providing assistance to developing countries to limit or reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, implies mitigation, and to adapt to the impacts of climate change implies adaptation. Right. The next is biocarbon fund initiative. Biocarbon fund initiative for sustainable forest landscapes. Right. See, question asked in UPSC 2015 is managed by World Bank. Biocarbon fund initiative for sustainable forest landscapes is managed by World Bank. Right. See, biocarbon fund initiative for sustainable forest landscape is a multilateral fund supported by donor governments and managed by World Bank. Managed by World Bank. Right. So it promotes reducing greenhouse gas emissions, right? Greenhouse gas emissions from land sector, right? Including efforts to reduce deforestation and forest degradation in developing countries, right? And sustainable agriculture as well as smarter land use planning and policies and practices. So this is biocarbon fund initiative for sustainable forest landscapes is managed by World Bank. Is managed by World Bank. Right. So yeah, basically emissions from sustainable forest landscapes, right? Emissions from reducing greenhouse gas emissions from land sector, right? Then see, fund capital is 351 billions, operational since 2013. Donors are Germany, Norway, UK, USA, and Switzerland. And programs are implemented in these 5 countries, right? This is a brief, right? Then let's discuss about, see, question asked in 2023, that is carbon markets, right? Carbon markets. Let's first study the content and then we'll solve the question. See, carbon markets are trading systems in which carbon credits are bought and sold, right? We have discussed carbon credits, right? Carbon markets, how they are sold and sold, cap and trade model, etc. Right? So companies or individuals can use carbon markets to compensate for their greenhouse gas emissions by purchasing carbon credits from entities that remove or reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Right? Several countries and territories have started carbon trading programs. Right? Carbon trading is adopted from cap and trade, a regulatory approach that successfully reduced sulfur pollution in 1990s. Right? So cap and trade we have discussed. Right? So carbon markets have become one of the most widespread tools in fight against climate change. By the end of 2021, more than 21% of world emissions were covered by some form of carbon pricing, up from 15% in 2020. So that is 21% of emissions covered, right? It is like taxes. Carbon markets transfer resources from private sector to the state. अब ये क्या है वो डिस्कस करते हैं. See, carbon markets में क्या होता है? See, there is cap and trade, right? Cap कौन वो करता है? Government, right? So cap is put down by the government, right? Now government releases carbon credits, right? So जो मान ले कंपनी है ज्यादा एमिट किया, राइट? सो कार्बन क्रेडिट्स रिलीज करके कार्बन क्रेडिट्स जो कंपनी कम किया है उनको गवर्नमेंट विल बी गिविंग देम एंड फ्रॉम देम they will be buying, right? So government get some commission, right, with respect to carbon emission certificates unka transfer, right? So carbon markets transfer resources from private sector to the state, right? And overall वो state के पास ही आएगा, right? Overall ये बेस से मार्केट में चलता रहेगा, right? उनमें transactions, right? Government gets money, right? Then so carbon markets will likely be effective tool against climate change. 83% of NDCs submitted by countries mention their intent to make use of international market mechanisms to reduce greenhouse gases. So 83%, right? So also the World Bank estimates that trading in carbon credits could reduce the cost of implementing NDCs by more than half as much as million, right? However, the mere reason that carbon markets transfer resources from private sector to the state is not the primary reason for their popularity, but also factors such as channelizing financial resources to support emission reduction, right? Hence, both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is not the correct explanation of statement 1, right? So, दोनों statements correct है, right? But ये नहीं कि are likely one of the most widespread tools in fight against climate change, right? So अब इसकी वजह से नहीं है most widespread इसीलिए है कि भाई benefit मिल रहा है, right? There are restrictions, right? There are nationally determined contributions, right? So that's why it is not happening. So statement to carbon markets are likely to be one of the most widespread tools in the fight against climate change, right? So answer is option B, that is both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, and statement 2 is not the correct explanation of statement 1, right? Now let's see next question, that is question asked in UPSC 2017, that is with reference to Global Climate Change Alliance. Global Climate Change Alliance, which of the following statements are correct? Global Climate Change Alliance, GCCA, right? So GCCA का पहले GCCA का पढ़ते. See, Global Climate Change Alliance was established by European Union in 2007. This initiative focuses on strengthening climate conditions in most vulnerable places like small island developing countries and particularly in least developed countries. Global Climate Change Alliance, right? So Global Climate Change entered a new phase and became a flagship initiative called GCCA Plus, Global Climate Change Alliance Plus in 2015, right? So GCCA Plus initiative now supports nationally determined contributions and include middle income countries following the Paris Agreement on Climate Change in 2015. GCCA Plus has been extended to include alleviation activities from 2017. Alleviation activities from 2017 included alleviation activities from 2017. इसीलिए 2017 में क्वेश्चन आया, right? So then both GCCA and GCCA Plus act as a platform to exchange experience on climate policy and integration approaches between developing countries and the European Union. It discusses how climate change can be implemented into budgets and development policies at regional, national, and global levels. Regional, national, and global levels. So GCCA coordinated by EU further extends financial and technical supports to partner countries. It helps implement projects that address climate change on the ground, helps in low emission development, and promotes climate resilientness. International organizations, notably Center for International Forestry Research, FAO, UNDP, these are organizations, you can remember UN Habitat, World Bank, etc., are involved in implementation of some GCCA funded interventions and also co-finance some initiatives. However, WRI and A are not involved. So let's check. See, it is an initiative of European Union, correct? Right? It provides technical and financial support to targeted developing countries to integrate climate change into their development policies and budget, correct? It is coordinated by WRI and World Business Council for Sustainable Development. ये दोनों नहीं है, but बहुत सारे institutions help कर रहे, coordinate कर रहे, right? Notably ये सब institutions है, right? So that is there. Then momentum for change, right? That is climate neutral now, right? Momentum for change, climate neutral now is an initiative launched by Momentum for Change. Climate neutral now is an initiative launched by, see, question asked in UPSC 2018. Momentum for Change, climate neutral now is an initiative launched by UNFCCC Secretariat. UNFCCC Secretariat, right? Momentum for Change, climate neutral now, right? See, United Nations Conference on Climate Change has launched Momentum for Change, climate neutral now. See, this is important, right? Momentum for Change, climate neutral now by bringing together two of the Secretariat's flagship activities. See, UNFCCC सेक्रेटेरिएट, इनका 2 फ्लैगशिप एक्टिविटीज है. One is momentum for change and second is climate neutral now. So this is first and this is second. और इन दोनों को मिला के ये लेके आई मोमेंटम फॉर चेंज क्लाइमेट न्यूट्रल नाउ, राइट. सो अब वो क्या है डिस्कस करते हैं. दैट रिकॉग्नाइजेस लीडरशिप इन टैकलिंग क्लाइमेट चेंज बाय नॉन पार्टी स्टेक होल्डर्स. See, momentum for change climate neutral now will showcase efforts by individuals, companies and governments that are achieving real results in transitioning to climate neutrality, right. Momentum for change climate neutral now will showcase efforts by individuals, companies and governments that are achieving real results in transitioning to climate neutrality, right. इनका जो भी बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल्स है, बेस्ट केसेस है, राइट, वो सब पब्लिश करती रहेगी, शोकेस करती रहेगी, राइट. सो दैट इज देयर. इन 2011 UNFCCC पहले लाई मोमेंटम फॉर चेंज. सो 2011 में मोमेंटम फॉर चेंज ये था ना, ब्रिंगिंग टुगेदर 2 ऑफ द सेक्रेटेरिएट फ्लैगशिप एक्टिविटीज. सो मोमेंटम फॉर चेंज क्या है? द UNFCCC secretariat launched its momentum for change initiative to shine a light on enormous ground shell activities underway across the globe that are moving world towards a highly resilient low carbon future, right. तो 2011 में लॉन्च किया, राइट, दुनिया को ये बताने के लिए कि भाई ये चीजें कर रहे हैं लोग, राइट. इन 2015 UNFCCC secretariat launched climate neutral now initiative, राइट. क्लाइमेट न्यूट्रल नाउ इनिशिएटिव, दैट इज भाई अभी के अभी क्लाइमेट न्यूट्रल बनाते हैं, राइट. दैट इज टू अर्ज इंडिविजुअल्स, कंपनीज एंड गवर्नमेंट्स to measure their climate footprint, reduce their greenhouse gas emissions as much as possible and offset what they cannot reduce using UN certified emissions reductions, right. So that is momentum for change climate neutral now is an initiative launched by UNFCCC secretariat, right. So दोनों को मिलाती है मोमेंटम फॉर चेंज एंड क्लाइमेट न्यूट्रल नाउ, राइट. बेसिकली ये है भाई, इट विल ब्रिंग इंडिविजुअल्स, कंपनीज एंड गवर्नमेंट्स टुगेदर इन ट्रांसिशनिंग टू क्लाइमेट न्यूट्रलिटी, राइट. देन नेक्स्ट इज कॉमन कार्बन मेट्रिक. दिस इज क्वेश्चन आज इन 2021. द कॉमन कार्बन मेट्रिक supported by UNEP has been developed for let's study. Common carbon metric is a protocol developed by United Nations Environment Program's Sustainable Buildings and Climate Initiative, right. UNEP's, right, Sustainable Building and Climate Initiative for measuring energy use and reporting greenhouse gas emissions for building operations such as heating, cooling, lighting, etc. Right. So the common carbon metric is a protocol developed by UNEP's Sustainable Buildings and Climate Initiative. Sustainable Building and Climate Initiatives, right. Sustainable Building and Climate Initiatives, right. So it aims to standardize measurements and reporting of carbon emissions from the built environment to improve energy efficiency and facilitate climate friendly policies. The tool is intended to assist governments, building owners and developers in reducing emissions from buildings which are a major contributor to global greenhouse gas emissions, right. Now let's see next question, that is climate action tracker, right. So which monitors the emission reduction pledges of different countries is a climate action tracker which monitors the emission reduction pledges of different countries is a, right. So पहले वाला क्वेश्चन का assessing carbon footprint, option A is the answer, right. Common carbon metric of UNEP, right, for assessing carbon footprint of building operations around the world, right. Then climate action tracker, see this is again important, ये उस टाइम current affairs में था, right. Tracker monitors emission reduction pledges of different countries is a database created by coalition of research organizations, right. So see, climate action tracker CAT is an independent scientific analysis that tracks government climate action and measures it against the globally agreed Paris Agreement aim of holding below 2000 degree except 2 degree Celsius and right. See, basically एक इंडिपेंडेंट साइंटिस्ट ग्रुप है, राइट, दे आर ट्रैकिंग, गवर्नमेंट ने कितना प्रॉमिस किया, राइट, वो कितना कर रहा है, अगर करने से ना करने से पेरिस पेरिस एग्रीमेंट का जो एम है वो अचीव करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे, राइट. सो द कोलैबोरेशन ऑफ टू ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, दैट इज क्लाइमेट एनालिटिक्स, न्यू क्लाइमेट इंस्टीट्यूट, the CAT has been providing this independent analysis to policymakers since 2009, right. So new, right, two organizations कौन कौन सा, climate analytics and new climate institute. Climate analytics and new climate institute, the CAT has been providing this independent analysis to policymakers since 2009, right. So CAT quantifies and evaluates climate change mitigation targets, policies and action, right. Policies and action. It also aggregates country action to the global level, determining likely temperature increases during 21st century using magic climate model, right. That is, magic stands for model for assessment of greenhouse gas induced climate change. Model for assessment of greenhouse gas induced climate change. It is a prime reduced complexity model often used by IPCC for key scientific publications and by a number of integrated assessment models. CAT tracks 39 countries and EU covering 85% of global emissions. 85% of global emissions. CAT covers all biggest emitters and a representative sample of smaller emitters covering 85% of global emissions and approximately 70% of global population. सबको cover नहीं करती, right. So it tracks 39 countries and European Union countries which emit 85%. So that is the CAT, that is climate action tracker. ठीक है, कितना action कर रहा है, right, कितना उससे क्या होगा, right, that track करती है CAT. Then next is UPSC 2022. So it is a question with respect to climate group, right. First let's understand what is climate group, right. See, the climate group is an international non-profit organization, right, that works with businesses and government leaders around the world to address climate change, right. The group has programs focusing on renewable energy and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, right. So climate group is formed in 2003, right. 2003 में फॉर्म हुआ, right, with offices in London, New York, New Delhi, Amsterdam and Beijing. New Delhi में भी ऑफिस है, right. It has grown its network to include 500 multinational businesses in 175 markets worldwide. So ये basically क्या है, climate group, it includes MNC businesses and government leaders, right, to work with them to fight climate change, right. Focus on renewable energy and reducing greenhouse gas emissions, right. So it is the climate group, a group of MNCs and government members, right. They are trying to fight climate change. That is the climate group, founded in 2003, right, with offices in New Delhi also, right. Now climate group ये है, right. Then climate group बहुत सारे चीजें करती रहती है. That is, one of that is EP100 is a global initiative led by climate group and the alliance to save energy. So climate group and alliance to save energy, वो EP100. So EP100 initiative bring together over 120 energy smart companies. So basically climate group जो है वो companies के साथ, businesses के साथ, MNCs के साथ मिलके काम करती है, right. So EP100 companies committed to improving their energy productivity. EP energy productivity 100, right. Energy productivity, improve their energy productivity and doing more with less greenhouse gas emissions, right. By integrating ambitious energy targets into business strategy, leading companies are driving innovation in energy efficiency and increasing competitiveness while delivering emissions and reducing goals, right. So EP100 has a global reach with member countries operating in more than 130 markets around the world. Then Mahindra Limited, the world's largest manufacturer of tractors, has signed EP100. The Indian-based company has committed to doubling their energy productivity. EP100 is energy productivity 100 by 2033, right? A core requirement for any businesses signing on the campaign. Recently, Dalmia Cement and JSW Cement, two leading Indian cement companies, committed to Climate Group's flagship businesses RE100, EV100 and EP100. Right? So Climate Group का ये सब चीजें चलता रहता है. Right? Then next is, see, Climate Group also acts as a secretariat to the Under 2 coalition. Right? Under 2 coalition का एज ए सेक्रेटेरिएट भी क्लाइमेट ग्रुप काम करती है. अब अंडर 2 क्या है वो करते हैं. सी अंडर 2 इज अंडर 2 डिग्री सेल्सियस. राइट. सो पेरिस एग्रीमेंट 2 डिग्री सेल्सियस से ज्यादा बड़ा नहीं होना चाहिए. राइट. क्लाइमेट. सो अंडर 2 क्लाइमेट रखना है, उसके लिए अंडर 2 कोलिजन बना. इज अ लार्जेस्ट नेटवर्क ऑफ, ये क्या है, नेटवर्क ऑफ सब नेशनल गवर्नमेंट्स. दैट इज सब नेशनल गवर्नमेंट्स. अब देखो नेशनल गवर्नमेंट्स के लिए बहुत सारे, अब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स क्लाइमेट चेंज को फाइट करना है, उसके लिए है अंडर 2. इज ए लार्जेस्ट नेटवर्क ऑफ सब नेशनल गवर्नमेंट्स. दैट इज जैसे मान ले स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स हो गया. राइट. सो इसीलिए इंडिया में भी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स लाइक वेस्ट बंगाल, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Meghalaya, etc. have joined under 2 coalition. So it is a largest network of sub-national governments committed to reducing net zero emissions by 2050 or earlier. Right? Under 2 coalition members commit to keep global temperatures rises well below 2 degrees Celsius with efforts to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius. 2 डिग्री से कम रखने के लिए, राइट, वो काम करती है अंडर 2 कोलिजन. राइट. सो नाउ लेट्स सी द क्वेश्चन. राइट. अब देखो, सी, क्लाइमेट ग्रुप इज एन इंटरनेशनल नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दैट ड्राइव्स climate action by building large networks and runs them. Yes. The International Energy Agency, in partnership with Climate Group, launched global initiative EP100. See, International Energy Agency नहीं है. Right. See, this is EP100 is initiative of the Climate Group and the Alliance to Save Energy. Right. So, International Energy Agency इसमें कुछ है नहीं. Right. So, 2 is incorrect. So, 2 we can eliminate. So 2 पता होते ही option B. Let's see other questions. EP100 bring together leading companies committed to driving innovation in energy efficiency and increasing competitiveness while delivering on emission reduction goals. Yes, some Indian companies are members of EP100. So we have seen how Mahindra are EP. Then IEA, International Energy Agency, is secretariat no of under 2 coalition. Under 2 का coalition का secretariat है Climate Group. So Climate Group, it is incorrect. So 1, 3 and 4 are correct. Right. So that's why Climate Group is very important organization you need to study, and under 2 coalition is also very important initiative. Right. क्यों? अब देखो, see, this is question 2020 में under 2 coalition. Child rights, no, it is with respect to climate change, so you can eliminate it. See, 4 is eliminated. We can eliminate 2 options. Right. So under 2 coalition is with respect to climate change. Then Talanoa dialogue is global climate change. Right. We have already discussed. अभी भी discuss करेंगे. Right. So 3 is correct. So C. So and Alma Ata declaration is healthcare. Right. So Hague Convention is incorrect. Right. So now let's study. See, Alma Ata declaration 1978. ठीक है. 1978 में साइन हुआ Alma Ata declaration. Right. Very important. Right. Focuses on primary health care. प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर पे फोकस करती है एंड आइडेंटिफाई प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर एज ए की टू द अटेनमेंट ऑफ द गोल ऑफ हेल्थ फॉर ऑल. सो प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर इंपॉर्टेंट है एज की टू द अटेनमेंट ऑफ गोल ऑफ हेल्थ फॉर ऑल. राइट. हेल्थ फॉर ऑल के लिए प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर is important. Focuses on primary health care and identify primary health care as key to the attainment of the goal of health for all. Right. There are series of Hague Conventions on different subjects, such as Hague Convention on civil aspects of international child abduction, which provides for expedition for a child internationally abducted by parent from one member country to another country. Right. So Hague Convention, बहुत सारे Hague Convention है, but biological and chemical convention कुछ नहीं है Hague. Right. So and Hague Convention on protection of children in respect to inter-country adoption पे भी Hague Convention है. Right. However, there is no Hague Convention related to biological and chemical weapons. Hence, page 2 is incorrectly matched. Then, Talanoa is a traditional word used in Fiji and across the Pacific, right, to reflect a process, Talanoa dialogue, that is a dialogue which is inclusive, which is participatory, and which is transparent. So Talanova dialogue is dialogue which is inclusive, participatory, and transparent, right? So the Talanova dialogue of UNFCCC is to take stock of collective efforts of parties in relation to progress towards long-term goal of Paris Agreement and to inform preparation of nationally determined contributions. Hence, paid 3 is correctly matched, right? Paid 3 is correctly matched. Tolanova dialogue is global climate change. Okay, dialogue. See, Tolanova is what? It means participatory, it means inclusive, and it means right. So dialogue A hona chahiye, right? Global climate change, right? So that's it. So with this, we are done with climate change part, right? So all the questions we have covered. Then in next class, we will be dealing with acts related to environment in India, right? Sare acts, Indian Forest Rights Act, right? Indian Forest Act, right? Compensatory Afforestation Act, right? Forest Right Act, okay? Environment Protection Act, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, वो सब डिस्कस करेंगे, right? See you in the next class. Bye.